Ruben, you have a question from a guy called Paul, and his question is: does the Bible teach the doctrine of original sin?
We were just talking, Jude and I, before answering this, that it depends what particular view of originals you've been given. Let me tell you what the Bible tells us about sin and our problem. The Bible very clearly starts out in Genesis 3 with the fall of man. And there is no doubt about that. This is the writer of Genesis, who I personally believe is Moses, actually saying to us, this is the problem we've got. Chapters 1 and 2 told us all about how glorious and majestic God was in creating us and making us and saying it is good. And then in chapter 3, we mess it up for him. We fall short, and consequences of that actually affect all of the humanity from then on. The consequence of that rebellion actually sits with all of us, so that we have got a tendency to do wrong. Again, Jude and I were talking about children and the way that they learn just the other day. We've got plug sockets here, which when you've got a little person who's just started to walk, they will very quickly find things like that are a danger to them. And our problem as parents is to try and protect them from the consequences of their stupid actions. But it's really interesting because we say to them, no. They will turn around and they'll side-eye us and look at us, and then they'll look back at the plug and they'll look at us, and then their hand will stretch out again and we'll say, no. And they'll look at us because they don't realise we're trying to protect them from a horrible consequence. But the thing there is the constant testing and the constant going for it. We want what we shouldn't have, and that is the consequence of the fall. So I hope that helps you to understand the fall. Then we get to the idea of original sin. There are some forms of teaching about originals that I find quite difficult because they imply that there is no hope outside of knowing Jesus. In a previous answer to a question, we talked about Romans chapters 1 and 2, how that talks about people who haven't heard Jesus, the grace of God that will reach out to them and, if at all possible, will save them. And it's the same with I believe, originals in that sense, that we have this tendency to fail and fall short, but God puts in our way all sorts of means by which we might learn of his grace and mercy. Sometimes we don't know the name of the one who saved us, but still he saves us. Another passage to point you towards, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, there is Paul's wonderful exposition of the wonder and the glory of the resurrection of Christ. During that exploration, one thing he says is that in Adam, all men, in Jesus, all men can come alive. A little bit of a Robin paraphrase there, but close enough to get the sense of what Paul is saying. That in Adam, the seeds of our rebellion are sowed. Each of us falls short of the glory of God. Don't know about you, but I hold my hand up. I'm a sinner. Without Jesus, I'm in trouble. The biggest trouble there can possibly be. But Jesus loved me so much that he reached out to rescue me. And the joy is that because of Jesus, I know that my sins are forgiven. And that's what we really need to focus on, not the nitty-gritties of people's theological ruminations. Just stick to the Bible, first and foremost. There's a lot of richness out there in theology and the teaching, but sometimes it can just take us away from our joy and our wonder that Jesus has saved us, and the encouragement to follow him to the end of our days. I hope that helps, Paul. A bit of a rambly one, sorry.